Welcome back, everyone. This is Thomas Triple T Tie with another new bullish crypto analysis. Before we dig in and take a look at the news and what's in the news that may impact the markets, let's remember that this is for edutainment only and not to be considered as financial advice. Additionally, I would appreciate it if you could help spread my easy to understand analysis to help others by smashing the like, ring my bell, hit subscribe if you haven't, and share your thoughts in the comment section. So with that, let's dig into the news and take a look at what's happening around the world and see their impact on the markets. We'll start off with this article from Wolf Street, where they cited sales of new houses sag, inventory piles up to the highest since 2008. 2008 is when we had the financial market crash. And this is due to increasing mortgage rates. The 30-year right now is above 5%. And home builders' costs explode due to, one, logistics, not able to get the supply. And also, so we got shortages of all kinds because of China's export, COVID lockdowns. We got, it's the Ukraine war, etc., etc. So the difference between measuring taking a look at new house data, purchase data, is that new home data is based on when the contract between sellers and buyers are locked in, versus existing home sales. They're registered when the sales are completed. So we have one is more on the front end, one is on the back end. So that's important to see. Oh, the White House worries that this is according to Newsweek. White House worries Iran could be nuclear weapon ready in weeks. Think about that for a second. Think about Iran is not one of the more Iran is not the most stable state in the world. State as in, like, government state or a country, if you will. So if they become nuclear, think how volatile the world will be. We already have Russia, who's a little bit of a challenge right now. And you think about them having all those nukes, and then now you add in Iran. Hopefully they'll figure this out, because that's not good. Lake Mead. I first heard about Lake Mead when I was in Vegas and wondering where they get their water supply from. I did some research and I learned about Lake Mead. It's pretty interesting. It's one of the larger man-made lake, if you will. It's more like a water reservoir. And it serves millions of people in Vegas and where else do they serve? I think it was Vegas and southern Nevada. And what's happened is that the water level has gone below this valve. They have multiple valves. This valve right here, the water has gone below this this valve that was installed back in 1972, I believe. Make it 1971. So 1971. So they have, what this is showing is that the environmental factor, climate change, the drought in the western United States is pretty severe, and we're not even summer months yet. And so the lake is drying up, and there are a couple valves further down that they can use, but this should be a big concern as water supply dry up. Without water, it's going to be really hard because that's our main life source. Why is the this article is according to NPR. They is titled "Why is the economy maybe sturdier than it looks?" Well, I'm not sure if you heard already today, but we'll cover it anyways. United States GDP, gross domestic product, went down for the first quarter of 2022, and that was a surprise. And so this article talked about the fact that even though we have GDP shows a decline, it's not a big worry because even with high inflation, the war, the invasion of Ukraine, they cited several reasons why we shouldn't be panicking yet. They cited data from the tourist and travel industry where it's shown that consumers are still spending because they saved up during the pandemic, and so there's a surplus of savings versus expenses like mortgages and things like that. I covered that a few days ago. So, and people are getting out, they're traveling, they're spending, they're doing vacations, and so spending helps stimulate the economy. So they cite it as those are some reasons why we shouldn't be panicking yet, even though the data show that GDP is trending down. Germany, the European's largest economy, is looking to replace Russian oil within days. And we'll talk more about Russian oil and what's happening in Europe in a few minutes. And Germany depend on Russian energy. Is a big part of their economy. And so without energy, it's going to be challenging for them to produce goods and services. So, yeah, I mean, all countries should wean themselves off of Russian oil, like addicts should wean themselves off of drugs. Not good. Russia is suspending gas supplies to Poland and Bulgaria, according to CNBC. And a while ago, Russia was saying they were planning to suspend oil energy to quote unquote unfriendly foreign buyers, and they've started with Poland and Bulgaria. Poland is one of the more vocal EU member and that have voiced major concerns against Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Poland said their energy supplies are secure, so that's good. I don't know much about how ready Bulgaria is, and we'll cover some more options that Russia was able to provide that mitigated sanctions. It looks like it could mitigate sanctions, but some people are questioning it, and we'll cover that in the in a few minutes. Russia promises they don't want to invade Moldova. Several days ago, there were bombings in Moldova, in particular the Transnistria, the area that's it's heavily populated with Russian supporters, and so. Remember when Russia was on the border of Ukraine and they're like, yeah, we're just, practicing our military drills. We're not going to invade. Russia has time and time again lie. Like they lie all the time. So when they say they're not going to do something and it looks like they're going to do something, more than likely they're going to do something. So, and, yeah, so if they expand their invasion, it's not good because the more they expand, the more NATO has to try to contain it, and sooner or later, potentially, the conflict with NATO is gonna trigger something via an accident or whatnot. So, yeah, liars, right? Rosneft, a huge oil tender, fails after it demands ruble payment. according to Reuters. What this article is about is basically right here. They failed to sell oil in a jumbo tender, so like a large order. So now they have to look for additional demand in Asian countries, in particular like India, China, to be able to continue to sell their oil. BBC News: Ukraine war caused biggest price shock in 50 years, and this has to do with commodities. And right here it says the war in Ukraine is set to cause the largest commodity shock since the 1970s. The World Bank warned, and this is true. You have, Russia is a heavy commodity exporter, so is Ukraine, and then we have inflation as a result of war, and so all prices are going up, and commodity supply is also being limited on export because countries are worried that they're not going to be even cover their own people's needs. So when commodity prices go up, like corn, wheat, and all that stuff, food products that are based on those commodity prices will also rise. So increase inflation even more. So not good for the market, not good for fighting inflation. Yeah, 50-year price shock, that's a big deal. China's DJI, the drone maker, the world's biggest drone maker, said that they're halting sales to in Russia and Ukraine to prevent use of its drones in combat. Interesting, because DJI is a Chinese company, and China has been on more friendly terms with Russia than voicing concerns about Russia's invasion. So that's an interesting move. Mysterious explosions throughout Russia. Belgorod ammunition depot on fire. So along the border of Ukraine and Russia, there have been several explosions, and Ukraine has not claimed responsibility for it. And this is near the southern border, I believe. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the southern border, but I think it is. But anyways, it broke out. No one claimed responsibility. But Russia, in the next few articles, you're going to see them threatening, which is what they do often. Germany energy firm Uniper are ready to meet Russian pay demand. So companies are caving into Russian demand to pay in rubles. How they're going to do that is this. So Gazprom has it's a bank, and they Russia said that these companies, like European companies, energy companies, can pay into like in euro or US dollar to fulfill the sanctions. And so, but that particular bank will convert that to rubles. So, and kind of like a loophole. So this is the first company, Uniper, to go through with that. And the West, they're saying that no, that's the same thing as EU violating the sanctions. So it's interesting development. And this article also mentioned that others may follow. So if they do this, it just negates the sanctions. Smart move, though. Smart move as far as what Russia did. Russian security agency wants exchanges, and this is crypto exchanges, to share data with crime investigators. Anytime I see Russia and crime investigators, or anytime you see government and some kind of crime investigator or some kind of crime, it's a spin. It's a spin to fight against oppositions. Like, not too long ago, I think it was last week, I mentioned an article about how the Russians FSB asked Binance to share customers' data with them because they were looking into Putin's opponent and see where his wealth in Bitcoin, etc., are, so they can secure it. So, and Binance totally denied that took place. They denied giving Russia the customer data, but it was Navalny, I believe, that they were looking at. But Binance is still operating fully in Russia. So yeah, you interpret that how you will. Fight crime. If they were so worried about fighting crime, they should fight their own policies about invading people and murdering children and women and civilians and putting them in concentration camps. Russia. Ooh, Russia with finger pointing Russia. Russia warns West, don't test our patience. According to Reuters. They like to warn people a lot. They like to flex and show how powerful they are. Let's check out the summary. Russia says West inciting Ukraine to attack. I wonder who attacked Ukraine. Russia warns of tough response to the West. And this comes after Western countries are sending heavy armaments to heavy weapons to Ukraine to help them fight Russia. UK says Ukraine can attack Russian logistics. Logistics are like oil depots or energy depots to help refuel their Russians' army, etc. So, and Russia responds by saying, "Don't test our patience." Things would be so simple if they just withdraw, go back, and feed their hungry people who are suffering in Russia, and let the world go back to how it was. Russia warns the world. The good news is Vladimir Putin is what? He's pretty old. So there's a finite amount of years in his life. And hopefully Russia's next leader will be a little bit smarter. China's Z calls for all-out infrastructure splurge to rescue economy. China's economy is on the brink of imploding because a lot of it's due to their COVID lockdowns. It's just not any lockdown. It's it's one of the world's toughest lockdowns. Draconian is what some people call their lockdowns. But President Xi Jinping met with the senior officials, and they want an all-out effort to boost constructions and increase domestic demand to promote growth. So that's tough. That's tough when you have when you have Shanghai, a major city, on lockdown, and then you have Beijing about to potentially go into a major lockdowns, two of your largest cities. So good luck to them, because what happens in China is going to reflect the rest of the world's economy. So fed up with lockdowns, bankers, fund managers are looking to leave Shanghai. And this is according to Reuters. Basically, they want to go back to Hong Kong. So, yeah, and I don't know if that's any better, but either Hong Kong or other offshore centers after spending a few years in the Chinese city with harsh COVID lockdown. So, yeah, people get fed up with that stuff. I mean, just think about it. Americans were willing to fight each other over masks, and here, imagine what the Chinese people are going through. Yikes. Reuters, according to Reuters, Shanghai focus shift shifts to vaccinating elderly as new cases decline. So good for them. Cases are declining, deaths are declining, so that's good. But they're focusing on people who have the highest percentage of COVID infections, which are the elderly. So what's interesting about China is I don't think vaccination is an option. I believe it is like mandatory. I could be wrong, but I believe it's mandatory. Think about that for a second. Gosh, can you imagine making Americans require Americans to be vaccinated for COVID? Wow. I think that's okay. Let's go to the CNBC here. Denmark becomes the first country to halt its COVID vaccination program. They're noticing that their trend it's not, they don't call it a pandemic anymore. It's an endemic. Endemic is like when a pandemic that kind of like lasts and doesn't really go away. So their endemic numbers are showing positive trends. And so they ending the COVID vaccination program. However, people can still fulfill the rest of their vaccination shots, so they can get like a complete course, like, you know, whether it be like 2 or 3, whatever. But that's interesting. First country to halt its COVID vaccination program. According to CNN Business, major recession is coming. According to the Deutsche Bank, previously they warned that it was a mild recession coming for the U.S. Now they have shifted from mild to major, and they cited several reasons. They don't believe that the Fed's going to be able to handle the high inflation, and that we're going to get a major recession in the U.S. here. And they mentioned that the Fed is significantly behind the curve, and with the consumer prices spiked to 8.5% in March, April is going to be probably much higher. So, but however, Goldman Sachs mentioned that the recession is not inevitable, and that they view that it's here's a statement from them. We do not need a recession, but probably do need growth to slow to a somewhat below potential pace that may raise recession risk. So slowing down growth, they say, could potentially not get us in a recession. So just two different perspectives from two major banks. Treasury yields rise even after unexpected decline in GDP. So the yield, I mentioned this in my earlier chart video for the market. The Treasury yield rises when price declines, and price declines when people sell. So when a lot of people sell, price declines, yield increase. So the yield increase can lure more people back in. So with a decline in GDP, the yield is still is rising. Pretty pessimistic view here, but I do agree with them. This one is according to Reuters. Climate change putting 4% of global GDP at risk. 4% of GDP. It's extremely high. And that is not anytime soon, though. They're projecting that out to be by 2050. And it'll hurt many poorer countries, especially the ones along the equator. So, yeah, we need to get a handle on climate change because it'll impact everyone. And it's the right thing to do. That wraps up our news around the world and news that may impact the markets. So I would appreciate it if you would smash the like, ring my bell, hit subscribe if you haven't, and share your thoughts to help get this my videos out to more people so they can learn and stay informed. Appreciate it. Next video is Bitcoin daily analysis. I'll see you then. Peace.